Funday, Week 6. God bless fantasy football. Back with you. There are many things a man can do with his time, but none are better than this. It's fantasy football season still. Now it's bye week season, so be prepared because there are moving parts in your lineup for the first time outside of if you were working the waiver wire in the first 5 weeks. But now you literally can't play one of your top players and you have to replace them. So what do? Hopefully you listen to our waiver wire week 6 show, and that would tell you all you need to know heading in to today. We'll be with you all the way up until the noon hour. Sausha Durkan, Andrew Rogers, Cam Broham. He will be tossing your start sit questions our way, so make sure to get those in. We'll try to get to as many as we can, but if we don't get to yours, maybe somebody else asks the same question, and we can maybe kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, I like it.
Some Week 6 storylines. Only 7 times in NFL history has a team returned from Europe, you are up, without a bye week. Now, the Giants and the Packers are 2 of those teams that are coming back and not going on a bye week.
That's rough.
Every one of those teams was tied or trailing in the fourth quarter the following week, which would be this week, and the opponent team totals going 6-1 to the over. So expect, if the Packers, in this case, they are playing, the Packers are playing the Jets, and the Ravens are playing the Giants. I got there. Don't worry. In this case, I really like the Ravens team total over, which means I like J.K. Dobbins this week.
All right. I
don't even think he really made my running back list, but I wanted to put that nugget in there because I still think J.K. Dobbins gets into the end zone, and he would be my honorable mention once we get into the running back rankings. Also, Mahomes is 7-0-1 against the spread as an underdog. That's just all time. He's never been a home underdog. So the Bills entering Kansas City as 2.5-point favorites. This game is interesting because it could go either way. And I would never bet against Mahomes at home.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I was just going to say that's probably a shootout. That's a fun game to watch.
But every time we've said shootout this year, we've been disappointed.
Or a landslide.
Yeah, like even the game on Monday night, Raiders, Chiefs, I was like, wow, this game's going to be awesome. It's going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
And it ended up being 20-10 at the end of the first. And then, of course, Mahomes came back out and only threw to Travis Kelce and ended up winning that football game. But
I got my ass handed to
even
me.
like watching that game, yes, it was considered probably a shootout, but it was just the Mahomes Travis Kelce show.
Right.
And the Josh Jacobs show and the Devontae Adams show. And Devontae Adams, we know where he's at this week on a bye. That's where he's at. No, I was not going the other route. I know what you all are thinking at home. Yes, he did get a misdemeanor assault charge. So, which frankly, tight little
I thought
nugget.
he was getting a suspension.
He probably will, but a tight little
I
nugget.
thought I saw that this morning. Or a couple days ago.
Let's see here. Let's go back. Yahoo Fantasy. We're going to look this up.
Right
go ahead.
now.
You look it up. I'm going to give my nugget. I'm going to give my nugget. You want me to laugh? Here's my nugget. The guy that got pushed over, you are just after money, dude. He didn't push you over that hard. Plus, why are you walking in front of a guy in front of the tunnel? That's not allowed for media members to do when players are leaving the football field. I'm not saying you deserve to be shoved, but if you sidestep move, say Devontae Adams decides to jab and get around and tears his ACL. Now what happens, right? He's not going to come after you because you don't have anything. But you're going to come after him because he shoved you over and you got up without a scratch. You stood right back up with the help of an usher. You, my friend, are a person that I wouldn't hang out with on the weekends. Just saying. All right, I got that out. I feel good. I went to confession. I confessed to our people. Let's get into this. What do you think? Did you see it? Did you find it? The article?
I didn't. I saw his apology on Twitter.
Yeah, and he apologized on Twitter. So that's all he needed to do, right?
And I saw Will Compton parody it and say, I'm sorry that I ran over that dude in the gym. I was really hangry.
Yeah, I also saw, I think it was Compton too. Like, why would he get charged? Yet. He apologized on Twitter. Like, if you apologize on Twitter, you're right. Like, that's all you have to do nowadays. This is the week of backups. Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson, and Eno Benjamin time. And I'll touch on Eno Benjamin here in a few. Bye weeks are back. Lions, Titans, Raiders, and Texans. So make sure to take those players on those respective teams out of your lineup and replace them with maybe some of these guys. Let's get into the quarterback rankings. And we'll start with Geno Smith, because why not fire up Geno once again? We love Geno Smith on this show, and he's finally on a good football team and not the Jets.
I thought you said in the last episode that we were going to talk about him anymore.
On the waiver.
This week.
On the waiver.
Okay.
Now we can talk about starting him. Yeah. Now he's on your team, right? He's on your bench. The Cardinals have allowed 19.5 fantasy points per game to the quarterback position. That is the 8th most in the NFL. He scored over 18 points per game over 3 straight weeks. The last 2 weeks, obviously more, because they were the highest scoring offense over the past 2 games. The Seahawks are in a position now to where they are riding their backup running back, because Rashad Penny went down, which is, a heartbreaking injury, not only for fantasy owners, but for him in particular, because this dude has been battling through injuries his entire career. And I just feel so bad that he just can't be on the lucky end of things.
It's always rough, especially when I think you described him as being a glass vase earlier or on the last episode. But there are several players that have had that happen throughout their careers.
Either that or James Conner.
Yeah,
one of the two.
One of the two. But battling injuries is rough, and I think it makes it difficult, especially if you have one of those players on your fantasy football team. So
right, who do you like?
I had Jimmy G on my list for Thursday's episode. Sorry, Tuesday. What day is it?
You're all three. She's been working nonstop this week, so I'm going to give her a little bit of grace.
Tuesday's episode. I had him on there. I didn't mention him, but not to say that you're in desperate need of starting a fantasy. What?
Where are we at here?
I don't know what's happening.
Are we in desperate need?
Yes. But this would be the week to start Jimmy if you need a replacement for Carr.
Yeah, that's the only guy on the bye week that you will be replacing is Derek Carr. Yeah. I mean, no one's taking Mills at all. No one's taking Goff this year, and nobody's taking Tannehill. The only person that is worthy of a spot in any lineup is Derek Carr, and that's who you replace Jimmy G with. I'm completely there with you.
He posted his first multi-touchdown game of 2022 last week. He gets Atlanta defense that's giving up 290 passing yards per game.
And that's roughly what Jimmy G puts up weekly.
Right, exactly. So if you're going to start somebody, I'd start Jimmy this week.
Now, he is really a 2-touchdown dependent fantasy quarterback. He's a great quarterback, but unless he's scoring touchdowns in fantasy, he's really not that great for a lineup. But based on what you said and how poor Atlanta's defense has been this year, I think Jimmy G throws at least 2 touchdown passes. Another guy on this list, Kirk Cousins, right? The good thing about Kirk is he's not an MVP, but he's very predictable. You can really look at Kirk Cousins and say, I know what he's going to do this week. He plays very well against poor defenses, and he plays very poor against bad defenses or good defenses, rather.
Weird.
And on primetime. On primetime, right? LOL. He has scored over 18 fantasy points per game in his last 3 games as well. And that is now being matched up against the Dolphins, who have allowed 22.5 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. Miami has also allowed the 5th most passing yards heading into week 6. And we all know what Kirk loves to do. He drops back, fake handoff to Dalvin Cook. He looks downfield. There's Justin Jefferson. Yep, that's a 30-yard gain. A lot of passing yards coming Kirk Cousins' direction this week. I really like him. And these are 3 quarterbacks that, especially if you play daily fantasy, that you can snag and throw in for a cheap price. Somebody that I hate, and I think this is a religious hate this week, is Russell Wilson.
Well,
it is personal
are they
now.
Done with the Russell Wilson experiment yet? Like what?
I don't even know if it's an experiment. You gave man $250 million.
It's a bad. Anyway,
what is happening?
Go off.
I'm just sick and tired of this guy wasting our time.
And it's not even fans' time. It's everyone's time. Everyone who watches football.
He has 5 total touchdowns in 5 weeks. This is a quarterback that was once, was he a Super Bowl MVP at one point? I would assume so. He also had a 40 touchdown season at one point. he's been dealing with discomfort in his shoulder. And we talked about this on the Big Plays, Bad Days, and Parlays podcast on Wednesday. Isn't it funny how injuries just start to pop up and become a thing when a quarterback is sucking?
When you're playing like crap.
Right?
When you're sharding all over the field.
Yes, exactly. When you're sharding.
Throwback.
Can we get a and it's one of those things now to where, yes, the injury was there and people knew about it, but he is a veteran quarterback. He's not a rookie quarterback that's still trying to prove something. He got paid. So if this dude really hurt bad enough, he would say, I'm sitting down.
Right.
Because he knows his body at this point when he plays in the NFL. He is now, I don't think I think we as analysts, the team, a fan base are giving him the excuse of this injury on why he's playing bad.
Yeah.
And that's completely unfair to every Denver Broncos fan out there. Completely unfair. Do not give Russell Wilson any excuse for how poor he's playing football right now. He's a fine bench stash where he is in a wait and see scenario, but at this point, he's a liability.
Oh, absolutely. Didn't he have negative points a couple weeks ago?
I'm not
fantasy?
Sure. I doubt it because quarterbacks tend to get up. He may have had negative points at some point
in the game, yeah.
But look, he had 3 touchdowns in one of those games. And let me see here. The Broncos haven't put up more than 23 points this season. And in that game, 2 touchdowns were scored. That is just...
It's gross.
Mind-boggling to think a team that was going to be so competitive in the AFC West and ended up putting or laying a goose egg.
Yeah. That's why beautiful is just a lovely, stupid game.
Let's go to running backs here. Let's move on.
Let's move on. I'll go first. All right. Melvin Gordon, despite the ugliness we all witnessed last Thursday night, Gordon still ended up totaling 101 yards and didn't fumble. Round of applause. Good luck firing up Sutton and Judy this week. They should never be question marks, but will continue to be week after week the way Russell's playing. So, you want to flip side it. Good news for Gordon. He doesn't need Russ to be effective. He can do it all on his own. And no team has allowed more fantasy points per game to running backs than the Chargers at 32. Also, barf.
Love Ramondre Stevenson this week. And it's a week of backups, like I had already stated. This is a guy that put up over 100 yards rushing. 100 yards rushing, Ramondre Stevenson, a guy that's looked at as a passing back in this New England offense. When Damian Harris went down with injury, he touched the ball 25 times for 161 yards. He was so heavily, and that was against Detroit. Now he was heavily fed against Detroit because they are the worst when it comes to battling the run, but the Browns are just as bad. They give up 28.7 points per game to fantasy running backs. That is the 4th most. He's a 3-down back, and this is what gets me just on. I'm like running on fire when I'm talking about Ramondre Stevenson from one end of the field to the other. I can't wait to see what he does now with Damian Harris not playing. And this was so funny.
By the way, that gut instinct was not him leaving the game with injury.
That's what I was about to say. It's so funny how I was so high on Damian Harris last week, and now I'm high on Ramondre Stevenson. And it's also funny how Tom Pelissero comes out and says, he's likely to miss multiple weeks, and then he gets a limited practice in this week. Like, what are you doing? What is up with these limited practice notices? Stop it.
Yeah.
He's not playing. We know that. Ramondre Stevenson is my pick to explode against Cleveland this week.
And just for personal reasons, I hope that is true.
Me too.
Because not because he's on my team, but because I love New England.
All right. One more. Talk about Kenneth Walker.
Kenneth Walker, there is a reason that he is the second running back taken off the board from our last draft. The Seahawks now know that he can handle this type of workload. A little bit about Kenneth Walker. His breakaway explosiveness is evident from his 48 rushes of 10 plus yards in college last year, which is massively impressive. He also led all running backs in missed tackles forced.
That's why he was a Heisman caliber running back last year.
Exactly. And a nice thing for Walker is that Seattle's good in both areas of the offense, so stacking the box won't be an issue.
Yeah, they're going to be using the pass. it's an obvious thing to defend with Geno Smith and how well he's been playing. So without them stacking the box, Kenneth Walker's going to find his holes.
Yes. So if you
hopefully you snagged him.
I was just going to say.
That was the number one waiver ad this week. Hopefully you snagged him.
I think Florida actually picked him up this week.
Florida. That
really nice gentleman.
Yep, sure. Sure. You jerk.
Whatever.
I hate AJ Dillon this week.
I love the hate segment because we could just stop with I hate whoever. I think it's really funny.
I hate AJ Dillon
because I'm a child.
Should we just stop there and move on?
I hate AJ Dillon.
I hate AJ Dillon this week. Dillon has now scored single-digit fantasy points in 4 straight games. There was thought of him having run B1 potential, run B1, RB1 potential. That was technically right. RB1 potential entering the season, and that just seems to be out the window at this point. Yeah. His snap count reached a season low in London at 31%. Sit him until we know. Right now he's just an elite handcuff. That's all he is.
Good way to put it.
On to wide receivers. I love Gabe Davis this week in Kansas City because we saw what Devontae Adams did to the Chiefs last week, and that's exactly what Gabe Davis did last week to his opponent, catching 3 balls, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Davis has the second most air yards per target in the NFL this season, and the best thing about the Bills is they pass at such a high rate. You can start any of the major receiving options on that team and feel comfortable no matter what.
Yeah, for sure. Kansas City has allowed 38.7 fantasy points per game to receivers this season. The 7th most in the NFL.
It's a lot.
Sharding. Just kidding. I'm just going to throwback. We need to get shirts made.
Yes, we're sharding.
So Tyler Lockett's come up a ton in these episodes that we've been doing throughout the season. If you're starting Geno or not, get that 1-2 punch going with him and Lockett. He was drafted in the 10th round or later in some drafts. The stone I can't read.
Oh, this is great.
And this is why
I added these notes in to Lockett. So Sasha put together notes and then we shared it. And because of that, I added in a Bible quote because I knew I'd throw her off. So,
and if you know me, this is hilarious. And if you can't hear him, Cam, our producer, is laughing his butt off back there.
So here's what I added in because there was a tidbit in her notes that said he was drafted in the 10th round or later in some drafts. So I'm like, wow, it's like the Bible quote: "The stone that the builders rejected became the cornerstone."
Why would I know that?
And that's of course Psalm 118:22, and it's great because. It really rings true in this scenario because it's the stone that the builders rejected was us fantasy managers forgetting that Tyler Lockett's a good receiver.
Right.
Because we knew Geno Smith or Drew Lock was starting. We wrote off Tyler Lockett.
Right.
We wrote off DK Metcalf. That's why they fell so late in drafts. And now look who became the cornerstone.
Exactly.
Tyler Lockett. And this was perfect because you had a read.
Beautiful. I know. And I'm like, wait a minute. What? I don't even understand. I knew what it meant, but I was like, huh? Anyway, since week 1, he has scored over 13 fantasy points every week and over 16 in 3 of those. Also topped 90 yards in 3 of his last 4 games and finally found the end zone, scoring twice in week 5. He's also catching 5 or more balls a game in that span. Lockett's someone that you can trust against the Cardinals. He went for over 200 yards in 2 scores in 2 games against Arizona last year.
Guess what he did in 2020? He had 3 touchdowns against them in 1 game.
So now he's due for 4, right?
Right. That's how it works, right? Or actually, he's backtracking because it went 3-2. So he's probably due for 1.
No, he's going to get 4. He's going to go back.
I'll take a touchdown. Just guarantee me a touchdown. I'll take a touchdown. That's fine with me. I hate DJ Moore this week. That's it. All right, move on. Tight ends. I like George Kittle, though. I really do. I think George Kittle's due for a touchdown. He gets that Atlanta defense that's giving up the 3rd most fantasy points per game to tight ends. Now, is it concerning that San Francisco uses him more as a blocker than, we'd probably like? I don't think
Especially coming back from injury.
I
know we mentioned that already, but that's surprising to me.
That still shocks me.
But if they're using him that specifically in that scenario, I personally don't. I think
it's a great opportunity for him to bump and run.
Okay.
Hit the defense. Yeah, just go off 10 yards or even in the red zone. That's where he's normally a threat. And he's a safety net for Jimmy G. I really like him.
1,000%. You want to hit the next one? Because I done got him on my team.
Yeah, I do. I should have started with him. Sorry. I love Taysom Hill this week. I'm starting him, and you should too. Yes. He finished with 34 fantasy points last week. He had a passing touchdown, 3 rushing touchdowns. Taysom Hill has scored over 15 fantasy points twice and over 8 3 times. There's nobody else on the free agent wire that matches up better for your lineup this week and can be the best play than Taysom Hill. I love that QB tight end slash mark. He probably also has a slash water boy slash makes dinner on Sunday for his family, whatever. Taysom Hill just seems like that type of guy. He is the guy that gives you the most upside if you are trying to replace Darren Waller like myself this week. I said it. I'm done. Can we end the show?
Yes, because I'm still angry that he torched me last week in fantasy. Damn
That's it. Now, talk about hate. You know, you're on the hate train.
All
Talk
right.
about hate.
I hate Dalton Schultz.
I do too.
Okay, I'll tell you why. As of dealing with a knee injury wasn't the worst part of his week. He also got a date with the Eagles.
Yeah.
And, you know, as Andrew has said multiple times, they're the most complete team in the NFL right
Eagles.
now. Schultz is has been non-existent in the Cooper Rush-led offense. 8 targets in 3 games, no catches in the last 2, and 18 yards total. Sharts.
That is disgusting.
Right down the leg.
Bury him on your bench right now. I know that you may, if you have Dalton Schultz to replace somebody else, I mean, good for you, but I'd still rather stream Taysom Hill than Dalton Schultz. I would sit Dalton Schultz in all cases. Let's talk about the LA Rams here because they get a date with the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. And defensively, I'll touch back on DJ Moore here quickly because until DJ Moore gets traded, Baker Mayfield is going to continue to just completely collapse that team. And they also got rid of their coach, right? Yeah. So by getting rid of your coach, what does that now do for you? And I had a stat. Rough. Did I write down the stat? Did I write it down here? Hopefully I wrote it down somewhere because it was a crazy stat. I didn't write it down. I'm going to try to go back and find it. But look, Christian McCaffrey, he'll get his touches, but the Rams know that. And they know Baker Mayfield has been unsuccessful his entire career throwing the football. Yes. So all they have to do is shut down McCaffrey and the run game. The Panthers are allowing 8.8 fantasy points per game to defenses. That's the 7th highest total in the NFL. Start the Rams this week if you can.
No, we don't like Buffalo Bills, which is surprising because defensively, sure obviously one of the best, you know, in the NFL right now. But so far this season, opposing defenses are averaging just 1.6 fantasy football games per game, points per game, against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. That's why we don't like the Bills this week.
I'm trying to find this stat, and I think I deleted it. It was.
Why would you do that?
All right, I'm going to think. Okay, I'm going to try to butcher what I said on Wednesday's show. I know it's been a few days, but straight up, teams are 15-17 the following game when they fire their coach. Oh. They are 17-15 when against the spread when they fire their coach. Now, those percentages look crazy. Go to the Action Network if you want to hear more about this stat because that's where I saw it. But it was interesting because teams like I know it's like a 68% win total against the spread, but there was a stat in there that basically said fade the team that fired their coach. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Just go back and look at it if you want. I wish I had that prepared, but I want to make sure that we get into your start sit questions instead of trying to dig up that stat for you. So thanks to those that sent in their start sit questions. We're going to get into it. We're going to do it right up until noon. Holy cow, it's getting close. We got to get into this. Okay. Would you start in your tight end position because I can't start Darren Waller, Hayden Hurst, Pat Freiermuth, or Dalton Schultz?
Hayden Hurst.
I think Hayden Hurst as well. Pat Freiermuth, just with Kenny Pickett, I'm waiting there. I'm waiting. And he was dealing with some concussion issues. Who knows how limited he'll be. And then Dalton Schultz, hate. Moving forward. Devontae Smith, or is this? Yeah, Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin, Deontay Johnson, CeeDee Lamb.
Ooh, CeeDee Lamb.
I'm going Chris Godwin this week.
Yeah.
I like Chris Godwin in the position he's in, and I think should be trending the right direction to finally get more involved in that offense. And he's due for his breakout game,
Right.
and it's this week. I'm going Chris Godwin here. Starting at QB, Justin Herbert or Kirk Cousins? That's easy.
Oh,
Herbert. Cousins? Justin Herbert against the Broncos? That's easy. What are we talking about?
We're going to fight.
What are we talking about, right? Alvin Kamara or Devin Singletary?
Kamara.
Easy. That one was at least easy.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Let's find another one here. Pick 2. Waddle, Drake London, Gabe Davis. I like this.
2. What were they again?
Waddle, London, Gabe Davis. I'm starting Gabe Davis.
For sure.
And I am starting Jalen Waddle. I would probably sit London this week against the 49ers defense. Pick 2. Singletary, Fournette, Montgomery, Mostert.
Singletary and Fournette.
Well, Montgomery played on Thursday, so sorry about that. Let's retract this to 3 now. Unless you played Montgomery on Thursday,
right?
I would go with Fournette, and I think I'd probably go with. You know what? I'll go with Devin Singletary in this case, only because Christian McCaffrey is rumored to go to the Bills.
Oh,
so I was going to say Mostert. So I'll agree with you. Because of that rumor, I think Singletary needs to prove himself to the Bills that, hey, I'm the guy.
Yeah, you can trust me.
I am the guy. Will Dissly or Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill.
I'm so F Taysom Hill. Hope he does well for your team.
Russell Wilson or Geno Smith? What?
Oh, Geno Smith.
Yeah, Geno Smith. And the follow-up question: can I drop Russ for another quarterback? No. I would hold on to Russ because there's nobody on the free agent wire that has more upside than Russ, and I would assume he can turn it around. Let's get one more, and then we got to get off. I'm sorry, we're getting close, and I want to make sure that you get to get these guys in before the start of football. Running back 2. Oh, that's good. Brian Robinson, Melvin Gordon, Kenneth Walker. No choosing Brian Robinson just because that's your husband's name.
Melvin Gordon is who I was going to say.
Nice. I think Kenneth Walker for me. Kenneth Walker just in the best position to succeed. And I like giving the young gun the football. That's it. We hope we got all your start-sit questions in and you feel comfortable heading into week 6 because, again, it's Sunday Fun Day. Right?
It is.
Sunday Fun Day. We're having fun. We're having fun.
We love Sunday.
Of course, remember, there are many things a man can do with his time, but none are better than this. Thank you to Sasha. Thank you to Cam. Andrew here. God bless you, and God bless Fantasy Football.